Big stuff happening. Speaking of our nation's capital still, big stuff happening over the Supreme Court yesterday. We wanted to go to Brian Jodis, who is the official National Press Secretary for the, well, I guess I don't call him Press Secretary, spokesperson. Sorry, I've been using White House nomenclature all week, Brian.
You're fine. That's the American Federation title, National Press Secretary. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, you really do have that title. That sounds very official. All right. Good to be with you this morning, Brian. There was some big doings yesterday. Kavanaugh, of all things. I've been a little dubious of Kavanaugh lately on some issues, but when it comes to school choice, when it comes to religious liberty, this court's pretty solid. Sounds like they're about to lower the boom again.
Yeah, well, good to be with you. And maybe the guys heard you say drill, baby, drill too many times on air. I don't know what happened there, but you're right. Look, I mean, we've seen school choice cases across the country over the last few years, and school choice has continued to come out on the right side. And what we're really talking about, too, and we've talked about this a long time, Chris, you and I have spoken about it, and we've advocated for it at the American Federation for Children, is this idea that the fund should follow the students to the school that their family feels is the best fit. We're talking about empowering parents and families, investing in students, right? And we're moving away from this conversation on makes and models of schools, and we can have those conversations, but really for us, it's about letting parents and families pick the school that's the right environment for them. Invest in those kids, let them get to where they want to be. We've seen the Supreme Court uphold school choice across the country. In my home state of North Carolina, big wins. So we'll see the way it shakes out, but invest in students, let them pick where they want to go to school.
You're not here to talk about this, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, and I don't know how much of the specifics you know, but broadly speaking, the fight right now is about whether, I think it's specific to the state of Oklahoma, but it has, obviously, when the Supreme Court rules on this, it's going to have implications for every state. But I think right now we're talking about Oklahoma specifically. There's a fight in Oklahoma about whether state monies for charter schools can be used toward Christian education, Catholic schools and the like. Is that about right?
You're tracking it right, but we'll even go back to the Supreme Court case that went all the way to the North Carolina Supreme Court in my home state of North Carolina back in 2015-2016 timeframe, and the same argument was made. We had vouchers come into the state, and they were saying you can't send public dollars to private Christian schools. We said, well, no, this isn't about sending the dollars to that school. You're investing in the student, in that student's name, to that school of choice. And so that's the way this conversation has continued to evolve. It's why we've advocated for school choice programs across the country. Again, let the money follow the kid to where their parent seems to be the right fit. That's what I think they're fighting for here. And then Oklahoma's also doing great things with special needs for students with school choice, and so we just continue to see, look, kids in the environment that's the best fit. Who do we trust to make the decision? Let their parents decide. Let everybody else kind of stay out of it.
This is a cousin to a case that came up before the Supreme Court a while ago, and the court came down heavily in favor of Christian schools. There was a state agency, I believe in Missouri, that was resurfacing playgrounds with old cut-up tires. The state was coming in and basically laying what is kind of a rubber mulch gratis to certain schools if they applied for it. Some religious schools were applying for it, and the state said, oh, no, we can't do that because you're a religious school. We're not going to give you any state help at your playground. And I believe that went to the Supreme Court, and I believe the Supreme Court said, no, you can't be bigoted against the religious school. If they apply for it, you got to give them the resurfaced playground stuff too. Is that about right? I mean, this keeps coming up.
I don't remember that one specifically, but I do remember, a great line from former Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal. And he used to say, and this always stuck with me, we didn't create religious liberty in America. Religious liberty created America. And I think that's an important thing.
Yes. So big, Brian Jodis, again, press secretary at the American Federation for Children. He's written a piece at the Washington Examiner, "The School Voucher Sky Isn't Falling." Now, I will tell you that, as you know, and we've talked a lot about, there are Republicans. In fact, I mentioned Oklahoma. There's a pretty healthy fight amongst Oklahoma Republicans right now. I would love to tell you that Republicans are kind of uniformly in support of the idea of school choice. They aren't, sadly. So talk about it.
Well, and listen, the premise of the piece, and we've talked about on these very airwaves, is, teachers union, sort of the big education loyalist, will constantly tell you and wring their hands and naysay about how school choice is going to ruin public education. On the contrary, this report out of Ohio shows you that kids on the Ed Choice program are doing extremely well. In fact, 32% more likely to enroll in college than their public school peers. But look, we just finished an incredibly big fight in the great state of Texas that was 20 years in the making to bring historic school choice, the largest day one program in the history of our nation, will be signed by the governor this Saturday. And that had internal dialogue and spars and debates between Republicans. So sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to get the right Republicans elected that'll support school choice. But at the end of the day, it's about what parents and families want. Polling across the country, in Texas specifically, in Ohio, where we see this program working, has shown us that more parents and families want school choice. Now we've got another piece of data in the long line of reports that are positive on this issue that show that it's working for kids. And so we say, look, you got to put those partisan conversations aside. And even if you're debating this inside your own caucus, what do parents and families want? They want more educational options. We're extremely grateful for that long journey it's taken in Texas, taken a little bit longer than most would think in a red state like that. But sometimes it takes the right leadership, the right movement to be there, Chris, and that's what aligned there.
Yes. And let's talk a little about what's in it, because the devil's always in the details. And I really believe when parents across the country, particularly in blue states that rebuff this, I think when parents start to hear about what Texas and other states have done, they're going to get hungry for it and demand it too. And I've always, as I've told you, any Democrat that actually embraces this instead of fights it, I think they will codify themselves in power permanently, which I don't want to help Democrats personally, but I mean, that's the secret sauce. You give parents what just happened in Texas in a blue state, you could be king, I think. Anyway, could you tell me what's in it a little bit?
No, I think that's a fair assessment. And what they've done in Texas, they've created educational savings accounts. They've put in priority on low-income and special needs students to be first in line to be able to get it. But essentially, it does what a voucher-like program would do, puts those monies in the hands of the student and that family to be able to choose a school that's going to work for them. They can then use it for some different services and different things in Texas. And you're right. I mean, I think your assessment is 100% right. And it's why I've talked to you before about this Educational Choice for Children Act that Congress, Republican-led Congress, has to get done in reconciliation this year, $10 billion tax credit, because what it does is allow states to stand up SGOs, scholarship-granting organizations, that can provide school choice in all 50 states. And there's the important part, Chris, because even in a blue state like California, you've got a chance now for families to get that taste of school choice like maybe they've never had before. And that can be a real game changer. It will supercharge school choice in states that have it already, like Texas, like my home state of North Carolina, like many other states across America, but it'll also give families a chance to get it like they've never had before, like you said, in those blue states. And it's such a winner. It's the right thing to do. It aligns with the president's vision of sending education back to the states and empowering parents. Congress has to get ECCA into reconciliation this year.
Are you guys a little amazed? We've talked before, and I still am amazed. It's been a few weeks since we talked, and I think I asked you then. There doesn't seem to be an aggressive pushback at Trump and Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education's attempt to basically decentralize the Department of Education. I don't sense an aggressive pushback, and that used to be one of their hallowed grounds, the Randy Weingartens of the world.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, listen, the president's done a lot in 100 days, Chris. I'm sure you've been chronicling it on these airwaves. I mean, there's a lot for those opposed to his agenda to fight against. Specific to our issue, I mean, Randy and the Becky Pringles of the world will always, sort of scream to the hilltops about how this is going to ruin public education. Again, that report I wrote about in Ohio shows you the contrary. But maybe it just goes to show, and it's because of grassroots. Parents and families have been seeing this. You and I spoke about it last time. Rapidly over the last 5 years because of the pandemic, they viewed education in a different way than we have before. And this idea that this middleman in Washington is going to be some magician as it relates to educational outcomes, it hasn't proven to be the case. And so the country's ready to take education in different directions. School choice is incredibly important in that, because more families and parents want to be empowered with that choice. And maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of a different tone. And if you watch some of that cabinet meeting yesterday, I mean, you've got Secretary McMahon sort of openly joking about, I've never worked so hard to get myself fired before. But she's right, and it's time to change this thing. We need a rapid, radical change, Chris, and that's what we're seeing.
And I want to be clear to people who have misgivings about this, and there are many, by the way. I know you. I know people, good friends of mine, who have gotten next to me and said, Stigall, you're advocating this school choice thing. I know where your heart is, but that's just a backdoor to more government control. I've heard that 1,000 times, and here's my answer to that. You don't have to take the money.
You don't have to go
Ryan,
anywhere.
it's about as simple as that.
That's exactly. You don't have to. That's the beauty of the Texas program. You know, you've seen people talk about it's going to do this. No one has to participate if they don't want to. It's about choice. It's about empowering families, investing in their students. That's the beauty of it. Let them get in the driver's seat of it. And we got to just get bureaucratic middlemen out of the way, Chris. It doesn't work.
Brian Jodis, the piece at the Washington Examiner, the school voucher sky isn't falling. Follow him on X as well at the American Federation for Students. Thank you.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.